What is going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the new super type Uatis kid that just released over here on the global side of the game in some Pirate Rumble, and this particular unit is an absolute weapon in Pirate Rumble. So, we are showcasing the strength team, and before I do continue, I do want to give a huge shout out to my boy Jin's son. This particular team was his original team. All I did was just literally slide Kid in over V1 Whitebeard. As good as V1 Whitebeard is, Kid is just miles better. Kid's special, being able to like just do an absolute monstrous amount of damage and that ignores defense, is just ridiculously strong. With this particular core team, you really want to make sure that you do have Ace. Jack is very, very good for HP as well as defense. He's basically your tank, so make sure you have him in your middle slot. Law gives HP, which is great, and then Sanji's really, really good for special cooldowns. With Kid, he has such a high special cooldown that you really want to have a way of making sure that you can actually get those cooldowns nice and fast. Otherwise, you can be in a little bit of strife if the enemy pops all of their specials off. With this particular team, now that I've actually mentioned that Whitebeard was replaced, I would probably replace Colgara Nolan with PvP Whitebeard on the bench. PvP Whitebeard is just a much better nuker than Colgara Nolan is. And then we have the big dog Kaido there as well, just for a little bit of safety, as we basically just had enough cost to slide another legend on. So I decided to use Kaido. Kaido is just an absolute weapon. You could easily use something like Zoro, the Purgatory Zoro that you do see on this team. And I really wanted to showcase the fights against stuff like the Dex and the Int team, as Kid's special can like just devour high defensive teams purely because it just goes through defense. But taking down the Dex team is no issues whatsoever, as it does have a lot of defense and it replenishes it a lot, but Kid just says no to that and just goes through it. So unfortunately, the Dex team, the defend strat tactic isn't that viable anymore with Kid running around. But let's move on to another fight now. Alright, so I managed to find a Psy team, and these defending teams obviously aren't like fully stacked, because like when you are defending, you want to try and bait the opposition as well. But this particular Psy team does use Wano Law. Wano Law is just like aging with goddamn perfection. He's still so viable on Japan, and he's used so much, mainly because Driven and Powerhouse units are always relevant. They continuously get buffs, and Wano Law in Pirate Rumble continually nerfs them. And funny enough, Kid is actually a Driven unit, which means that because Kid is a Driven unit, we are going to be getting special cooldown nerfed. Now, that is the big downside to Kid. He has such a high special cooldown charge that, like, once you do get his special off, he can do a lot of damage, but it is still RNG with placements of the units, as I think he does, like, a large frontal range. He does, like, a massive damage, and he ignores defense. But with the Psy team, it is still very, very strong. And this particular Psy team is no slouch. They do have Enel, they do have Rebecca Toy Soldier, they do have Roger, they have Germa, which can do a lot of fixed damage. The Psy team has a lot of options. Obviously, they could easily have something like Boa on this particular team. And there is another Psy unit that I am totally blanking on. But there are a lot of options when it comes to Psy. But this particular team does output a lot of damage as well. And it does get a little bit shaky. Mainly because Kid, for some reason, even though I do have him in the back, like, he's still taking the forefront of all of these attacks. We just managed to survive, however, which is very, very nice. And that's the big upside to using Jack. Jack can give you a lot of extra HP as well as Law, but he also gives defense. He'll always pop his special off before Kid, so you'll get that extra defense, and it just helps out significantly when it does, when it comes to tanking those shots. And then using something like Sanji's passive to actually get cooldowns as well is very, very handy, as you just sort of, you need Kid to pop that special off. This whole team is built around Kid getting his special and just board wiping. So that was the second fight. Let's move on to the third fight now. Alright, so I found a strength team, and it's a little bit of a mirror match, but not exactly a mirror match. But the reason I wanted to include this particular fight in the video is to showcase the difference between the strength team with and without Kid. Now, strength is in a little bit of a weird spot, right? The core team has a lot of potential, but on Japan, like even like where we are in Japan, they just haven't done a lot with it. There are a lot of like slashes, like Law, Odin, Sweet Generals, and Kaku. They're all slashes as well, so you can sort of build like a slasher-centric strength team, but the main core, like, and the best the best defender you have is Jack. So you really want to try and include Jack on the team somewhere. And this particular setup, once again, shout out to my boy Jinsan. This particular setup tends to work the best, as Sanji like can do a lot of damage, but he also gives attack up. Now, the idea of the attack up system, as well as Law giving attack up as well, the idea of getting all this attack up normally wouldn't matter because the defensive stat stacks so much better than the attacking stat does. But when it comes to Kid, you really want to try and get your attack up as much as possible, as that way you can start popping off, when you do pop off his special, you are just going to do astronomical numbers, like wild numbers. And this particular strength team got fairly lucky with its placement. A lot of their units were sort of just jumbled around the place. When my units sort of went into attack, I didn't really get a really good opportunity of actually targeting the characters that I wanted to target, or managed to get that board widening effect that Kid has. So we are about to getting our Kid special here, provided we tank this Sanji. So this is why Law and Jack is so important for the team. You just need that extra HP, otherwise you're just in a really bad spot. We managed to get Kid special off. He does manage to board wipe everything. Final unit that comes in is Beej, and Bob's your uncle. See you later. We should be able to take this particular fight out. No issues whatsoever. Goodbye, Beej. So that was against the strength team without Kid. Like I said, the Sweet Generals are quite good. Kaku's pretty good, and so is Odin. But when it comes to the strength team, they already have a lot of damage output. They really just need a lot of help with stuff like HP and defense to maintain their longevity so that Kid can pop off. I do have one more fight for you guys, though, so let's move on to that. Alright, so the final fight is against a driven powerhouse sort of int setup. Now, this particular defense team is bloody scary. Fire Tank Pirates are probably one of the best defending characters in the entire game. They can help the driven team so much. Moria is an absolute god in Rumble. Like, I think people underestimate how good Moria is, and I don't know if that's just because Driven and Powerhouse have just got so much support moving forward in Japan, but on defending teams, if you're running in and you have Moria, put Moria on the team. Like, Moria, his special halving stats is ridiculous. And then with the release of Yamato as well, where you can just have, like, all of their enemies, like, stats halves, it's just absolutely insane, some of the stuff that you can do with that. But as you can see here, because we do have Sanji, we do manage to get our cooldowns of Jack fairly early. And the upside to getting Jack's cooldowns is that way he pops off before the 70-second mark. The fact that we pop off before the 70-second mark means that we can actually get the double HP cut effect of Jack, which is really nice, and the extra defense. So when our boy Kid pops off, he just does so much goddamn damage. But as you can see there, the Driven Int defensive team just has so much prowess that it can actually survive a Kid shot. Lucky for us, though, we do have Ace. The combination of Kid and Ace, like, doing their specials at the same time, it just helps out so drastically. This particular team had a very good bench, but when you do, like, a huge board wipe, and you just see their 3 nukers coming in that literally just don't have any synergy whatsoever, you are usually in a very good spot, and you don't have to stress that much. So we did see Shiryu come in, which is normally quite a scary character. PvP, Whitebeard, very scary character. As I mentioned, I would put PvP Whitebeard on this team over Kagura and Nolan if you have them, or even something like, what's his name? Rebecca Toy Soldier. I feel like they're probably a better option. But as you can see there, we managed to sort of like just decimate the final stages. But that's going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the strength showcase of this Kid, the new Super Sugo on Global. One of the new Super Sugos, I should say. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there and belt the like button for me if you're new to the channel. Hit that big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later!